What is up? Welcome back to Reggie's World Sports. I'm Reggie, and before we get started, I just want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, do all that good stuff, and keep supporting my channel. As you guys know, the Falcons play the Eagles this coming Monday. It was a Monday night game. I think it's a fascinating matchup between two teams. As you guys know, the Falcons looked really bad offensively against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's just no denying it. Kirk Cousins did not play good. The offensive line didn't do a good job protecting him, specifically Caleb McGarry. I think, to me, he was probably the main guy. I thought the rest of the guys played kind of relatively okay, but really it was the Caleb McGarry, TJ Watt matchup that kind of did the Falcons in, and Kirk Cousins specifically just did not play good at all. And as we enter this game against the Eagles, speaking from a Falcon fan, when I look at the Philadelphia Eagles, this is kind of like the inverse version of like what Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh's strength, the strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers was their defense. The strength of the Philadelphia Eagles is their offense. And so when I look at the Eagles, you just have to look at their offense. And their offense, led by Jalen Hurts, is just so explosive. You got Saquon Barkley, who's their running back, who had, I want to say, was it like 120 yards rushing last week, something along those lines. Like, he was great against Green Bay last week. Just ran all up over them. And so you have him. You have A.J. Brown, who's one of the best route receivers in the league. You got Devontae Smith, who is as good as a number 2 receiver as there is in the league. You have Goddard, their tight end, who's really good. And so when you look at the weapons that Philadelphia has, and then you have the offensive line, which is pretty solid, they're stacked. And they're an offense that can get up and just put up points. Like last week, the Eagles scored, was it 29 or 32? Like they scored. And that was despite Jalen Hurts having 2 interceptions, and they still won. And so this is an offense in Philadelphia that can put up points, and the Falcons defense will get tested in this game in ways that I don't quite believe Pittsburgh was able to test them the way I think Philadelphia will. And so it's going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be a challenge for a guy like A.J. Terrell, who I thought had his troubles against George Pickens last week. You're going up against A.J. Brown. And so that's going to be a challenge for him. And A.J. Brown's kind of big. Like, he's 6'3", 220-ish. He's a pretty big and fast receiver. And so you have him. You have Devontae Smith, who's also a explosive receiver himself. And so you have 2 dudes at the wide receiver position that can pose problems. And so the Falcons are going to have their hands full. I look at the pass rush. To me, this is the type of game where why you do trade for Matthew Judon. Because if you want to beat the Eagles, like, you're going to have to find a way to disrupt Hurts and make him uncomfortable and not allow him to get in the rhythm. And so this is going to be a real test for a guy like Matthew Judon and Grady Jarrett, and see if, like, those guys can find a way to disrupt Jalen Hurts. And like I said, their running game with Saquon Barkley, you're going to have to, Troy Anderson and Ellis, like, those guys are going to have to figure out a way to, get this man on the ground and not allow him to have big gains. And so I think this is going to be a real test for the Falcon defense. And hey, look, and the one thing I will say about the Eagles is, like, Jalen Hurts, like, he can be, like, as we saw against the Packers, like, he can be a little turnover prone. Like, he's going to throw it up to you. He's going to give you a chance to intercept the ball. And so the Falcons are going to have to take advantage of that. And so, look, I think the defense is going to be a real test for the defense in ways that I don't think the Steelers were able to test them, because I think the Steelers their game plan was about running the ball, being conservative, not allowing, uh I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, but Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates to not allow those guys to have chances at the football, to intercept the ball. And so I think there's going to be some opportunities, I feel like, for like Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates to make plays on the ball. And so, look, I think the defense, this is going to be a test for them, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do, because Philadelphia's offense is legit and they have weapons. And so that's kind of where I am with that side of the ball. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, look, like I said previously, it was not a good day for the offense. And Kirk Cousins got some deserved criticism this week. Now, look, there is a question as to whether or not he's healthy or not. Look, I think it's reasonable to suggest that it might take Kirk Cousins a little bit more time to kind of readjust, to feel comfortable and get in a rhythm. Like, I think that's a little bit fair to say, but at the same time, look, no one has time to wait. The Falcons have playoff or bust expectations this year. And in order for that to happen, Kirk Cousins is going to have to play like a top 10-ish quarterback. He's going to have to play at that level, and he just did not play at that level last week. And so, look, I think Philadelphia's defense is a level down compared to where Pittsburgh's defense is. Now, that's not to say Philadelphia doesn't have talent, because, look, they're defensive. They have a good front. And when you have a guy like Josh Sweat, who is a capable guy that can get after the quarterback, he had 6.5 sacks last year. The year before, he had 11. And so this is a guy that can get after the quarterback. You have Jalen Carter, my guy from Georgia. He was a guy that I was kind of hoping the Falcons would draft, but they didn't draft him, probably because of character concerns or whatever. But, you have him. You have, a guy like Brandon Graham, who's been in the league for a long time. And look, he's 36. He's older. He's on the older side, but, he's a guy that's capable. And so they still got guys that can get after that are capable of getting after the quarterback. But on the flip side, neither of those guys that I named are on the level of a guy like TJ Watt, who just obliterated the Falcons last week. And so I look at this as like a real opportunity for the Falcons to kind of to rebound, and if you look at it, Philadelphia's back seven, I think it's vulnerable. I think Green Bay was able to make some plays last week. They were also able to have some success running the ball. And look, offensively for the Falcons, I look for the Falcons in this matchup to continue to give Bijan Robinson the ball, to involve him. If there's one thing that the Falcons actually did do a good job of last week, was they gave Bijan Robinson the ball. He had 23 combined carries he had 23 combined touches. He had 18 carries and 5 catches. And so continue to involve him, give him the ball, get him involved with using screens and in receiving patterns and carries, because I think Bijan Robinson I think he can be the best running back in the league. That's how highly I think of this guy. This is a guy that can run between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. He can run routes. You can involve him in screens. You can do everything with this kid. Like, this kid, to me, is like a modern-day version of Marshall Faulk and LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, that's how talented I think Bijan Robinson is. And so it would behoove the Falcons to continue to get him involved. And on the flip side also, can we get a Kyle Pitts sighting, please? Pretty please, with sugar on top, please? Like, I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for Kyle Pitts to, like, show us why the Falcons drafted you number 4. This is a guy that I thought he had a pretty good rookie year, his first year. His second year kind of caught up, playing with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. That didn't do him any favors. I get it. And he ended up getting injured. And then last year, it's kind of clear just wasn't the same physically. But look, this year, like I think it's time for this young man to step up and show us why you're gifted as a player, you know. And last week, granted, he did have a touchdown. He had the only touchdown for the Falcons, but he had 3 catches for 26 yards last week. I think this week, I think it's a really good opportunity for him to kind of rebound from a not so great showing. And like I'm just looking for him to just dominate, like be one of the best players on the field, And so I think Cal Pitts needs to have a big game, and Drake London as well. Now I feel like as a fan, like I feel a little more confident about Drake London, a little more than I do Cal Pitts. But Drake London, he didn't have a good game, man. I won't say he didn't have a good game, but he had a quiet game. And Raheem Morris was, after the game last week, said that, that the Falcons didn't do a good job of involving him in the game and giving him the ball. And so I look for Drake London to have, a big game and for the Falcons to involve him. And so look, in order for this Falcons team to reach the expectations that most fans have of them, Drake London and Cal Pitts have to be like dudes, like stud receiving targets every week. And so it starts with those two. Like those two guys, Pitts and London, have to show us why they are top young talents in this league. And so, look, it all goes back to Kirk Cousins too. Like Kirk Cousins he's gotta play better than he did last week. And you figure that he got the game he played last week, he had that under his belt, he didn't look good. Hopefully that rust, assuming if that's what it was, like hopefully that's worn off a bit and he'll look more comfortable as he gets more reps. And so I'm looking for the offense to have a much better showing than they did against Pittsburgh. And look, man, like Kirk Cousins, like look, I know there was a lot that's been made, like I said, there was a lot that was made of him as to like, is he healthy? Is he not healthy? It was disappointing. It was also alarming that the Falcons did not use much play action. I know that was a talking point throughout the week. And look, I look for that. I look for the Falcons to use more play action this week because they just Kirk Cousins is what he's best at is in play action. Like it just is in the numbers. And so I think that's just something that the Falcons are just going to have to do. You're going to have to use more play action, use Bijan, and like look, the offensive line that needs to protect Kirk, and Kirk has to make good decisions and operate like a veteran quarterback. And so look, I think this game against Philadelphia is an interesting game. I think it has a chance to be a really good game. It potentially could be a high scoring game because I think both offenses, especially Philly's offense, Philadelphia's offense, they are, when it comes to just targets and weapons with the running backs and the receivers, like, and the tight ends, like Philadelphia is as skilled as it gets in the league when it comes to just the amount of weapons that they have. And so the Falcon defense is going to get tested, and the Falcons offense is going to have to answer the bell and put up a lot more than just 10 points, because if the Falcons are scoring 10 points, they're going to lose. And so offensively, this team is going to have to they're going to have to rebound from what they showed last week. And it starts with Kirk Cousins delivering that ball, and it continues on with Bijan Robinson, running the ball and getting him involved, and it trickles down to Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Like those two, they gotta show up. They gotta be those. Be the dudes that the Falcons drafted them to be. It's just as simple as that. And so I think this game against Philadelphia is going to be really good. I'm looking forward to watching it. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that specific game. I think it's going to be a really good game.